Karate Kid Legends, which is the new film in the Karate Kid franchise, which of course began way back when. This follows on from the 2010 reboot with Jaden Smith and Jackie Chan, and is set after the events of the TV series Cobra Kai. I've seen all the films. I haven't seen the TV series. The original starred Pat Morita and Ralph Macchio as teacher and student. This time, Ben Wang is the young man who needs training. He is Li. He comes to New York from Beijing with his mother following the death of his brother. His mum has made him promise not to fight, even though he is clearly, very good at it. But he meets up with Sadie Stanley's Mia, who lives just next door, and her dad runs the pizza place. Turns out her dad was a fighter, but he turned his back on it. He walked away from being a fighter. Now he is in hock to loan sharks who turn up making threatening noises about, when you're going to give us some money, you owe us, or in an American accent, obviously. So he needs money, and he finds out that Li actually has martial arts skills. So he asks Li to train him. Meanwhile, the daughter's ex, Connor Day, beats Li up. The only way to get his own back on his, on the beating up, and to solve his friend's financial problems, I know it sounds a bit convoluted, is to compete in and win the 5 boroughs fights with a little help from his old teacher, Jackie Chan, and the student who started all this stuff all those years ago. Here's a clip from the trailer.
Yamazuki, punching block, stronger base.
Windmill block, more dynamic. Hey, everything is a kung fu.
Yeah, well, no.
What happened to 2 branches, 1 tree?
One branch stronger than the other.
As a clip rather than clip from the trailer, my error, which is a nice scene. So anyway, look, and of course he will see him in the Big Apple because the story beats are, as broad as Broadway, and you can pretty much plot out the film from the outset. But here's the thing. I had the morning from hell on Tuesday getting into London. It was power outages in Southampton. My train was 2.5 hours late. It was, and it was, by the time I got to the screening, and in fact, actually they had to start the screening slightly late because I was late. I was not in the best of moods. By the time I came out of the screening, 90, 100 minutes later, I was in the best of moods. And the reason is this. There's nothing about this film that's going to change the world. There's nothing about it that's kind of, radical or reinventive. But firstly, I love the Kung Fu karate training and fight scenes. And the whole thing, and this is true of the whole Karate Kid series pretty much, is played with an air of wholesomeness that is fairly irresistible. I went in feeling grumpy as all heck, and I came out with a spring in my step. And at the end, when the thing did the surgy thing, I cried. And I cried in that happy, I like being in the cinema, and I like the cinema provoking all these emotions. And I know some of it is completely mechanical, but I don't care. It's nippily directed. It's got enough flashy panache to win over new audiences, but it's also it has the sort of the physicality that you want from the fight sequences. It's a 12A certificate, and the BBFC say modern violence injury detail, moderate violence, not modern violence, moderate violence injury detail and language. But it's pretty much family fare. And I remember going to see the previous one with Child 2 and really enjoying it. I remember seeing the original when it came out. The thing is, the Karate Kid franchise is the Karate Kid franchise. And I just thought it was done really solidly. And I laughed at 3 or 4 jokes. There was somebody else in the screening who was enjoying it as much as I was. There were a couple of jokes that are actually very, very funny. The fight sequences, you know what's going to happen, but it doesn't make any difference because the fight sequences play out really well. There's, like I said, there is this weirdly just wholesome air to the whole thing. And it does exactly what it says on the packet. It takes the Karate Kid thing that says, okay, next generation moves it on. I enjoyed it enormously. And believe me, I was in a foul mood when I arrived.
Yeah. So it has restorative powers. It's very interesting because you would think if there's anything niggly about this film, your mood would have magnified that.
Precisely.
But instead, it kind of cast a spell over you.
And in fact, last week I was having a discussion with Ben about, in your absence, about how my teeth had been put on edge by the Phoenician scheme, and he had snubbed me at the beginning of the screening, so I was in a huffy mood anyway. And there was a question about whether or not that huffy mood then transferred into the screening. But no, what this demonstrates is, believe me, I was in the foulest of foul moods, and I'd been rained on, and I'd been standing up on a train that was 2.5 hours late, several trains altogether. And I sat down and the film started and I thought, that's it, I'm in. And then they started doing the fighty, punchy stuff, which I really, really liked. And it's, the coat on, coat off stuff, which I really, really liked. And then Jackie Chan, you only have to look at Jackie Chan's face and the whole world lights up. And anyway, I enjoyed it.